I want to talk about a case that I just recently was called in on. This case was being done by a priest and a colleague that I have helped out in the past. They contacted me saying they needed my help. Seems like everything they've done between getting rid of different items in the home, thinking that was possibly something attached to them, or even doing exorcist on the family, wasn't seeming to work. They still had the same situation continue. They've been on this case for a very long time. I believe they told me it's been ongoing on and off for the past 2-3 years, maybe longer. They were kind of running out of ideas or things to do. Wasn't sure what was going on, how to handle it. They did believe they were dealing with something demonic, but you know, when you do an exorcism on something demonic, usually can take care of the problem. So they were kind of stumped of what they had there, not knowing how to take care of it. So they called me in. I went to the residence of the clients. As soon as I got there, I got out of the vehicle, and as I was approaching the house, I ran into a real strong energy. It was almost like there was a wall or a force field right there around the home. I kind of backed up a little bit to kind of see what all I could pick up on. I traveled basically up and down the sidewalk there and tried to enter at different points onto the property, and was still getting the same feeling, almost like there was a wall there of energy. I went into the home, and of course when I set foot into the house, I did pick up on a lot of energy there. It was somewhat negative. Didn't seem like it was something demonic, but it seemed more like something that was angry. I could pick up on other spiritual energy there as well. Most of that was positive, whether it was residual or intelligent. At that point, I wasn't quite sure, but there was other energies also in the home. I met the clients, and basically I interviewed them. I'd already previously got together with the priest and the one colleague, and kind of went over what they've done, what they were able to tell me, what information they were able to give me, kind of prepare me a little bit. Basically, I was going into this one blind. I didn't have a whole lot of information to go on. I wasn't able to connect with the clients to interview them prior to going to the home. We sat down. I usually have my basic questions, try to figure out, everything that was going on, what was happening, how far back when it all started, getting some background information. I did get a lot, and I did notice that talking to the female client, she did have, it was like she wasn't, I guess you would say, kind of in our world. She was being controlled. She had the anger look about her. Her eyes had kind of a black look, almost like something demonic was possessing her. She did talk. To them, it sounded like it was a foreign language that she was kind of chanting. um, different things. They thought maybe that it was some old ancient language, something they weren't familiar with. But when I heard her talking, um, to me, I picked up it sounded like language of Native Americans, Indians. Excuse me. Um, we talked for excuse me. We talked for about, I don't know, approximately an hour, so I could try to gather as much information as I could. Um, During this time, like I say, I was picking up on a negative energy there. It seemed to be very strong. Um, Once we were done with our interview, um, I asked for a tour of the house, and as I was walking from room to room, there was something that just kept wanting me to go down, like it was being pulled to the floor. This home did have a basement in it, first level, and then of course an attic to it. Um, as I walked through the house, like I say, it was kind of pulling me downwards, like towards the floor. Went into the bedroom, uh, the master bedroom where the client sleeps. I did pick up on some energy in there, nothing real strong. Went into the other bedroom. It's pretty much the same everywhere I went on that uh, second floor level. Um, I was kind of, looking at the different objects that were in the house, trying to see if I could find anything that was possibly old, um, you know, to see if I could pick up on maybe something being attached to an item in the home. Um, there's several religious stuff, a few paintings, some old furniture, but I didn't see anything that really kind of drew me to it or caught my eye. Um, when I went back into the living room towards the front door, there was a closet, entry closet there. I opened up the entry closet, and once again, it was just like, it almost felt like in my legs that something was pulling me down. At that point, I was determined that what was possibly there was more likely in the basement, because it seemed like that was where it was pulling me to or wanted me to go to. As I was going to the back of the house where the stairway was leading down to the basement, it basically aggravated her. She started chanting again in the language, which to me, like I said, sounds like Indian. Um, she was saying go, don't go, repeatedly over and over in an angry voice, like whatever was possessing her or controlling her was telling me not to go there. Um, where she was saying go, it was like there was something else that was telling her to tell me to go. So it was kind of back and forth. One wanted me to go, the other one did not want me to go. Um, but I get this quite a bit on a lot of cases where I get little clues like this telling me to do it and telling me not to do it. Um, as I was going down the stairway to the basement, I had um, the voices that I usually get. I don't know whether it's guardian spirit or my spirit guide or exactly what it is when I get these voices, but I had a word that came through that said stop. I had one that came through, it sounded like it said mine, and another one that came through, um, um, I wasn't quite sure what it said, but it sounded almost like it was either telling me to leave or telling me to basically be cautious or watch out. Not really sure, but then When I do these investigations, I'm pretty much in that state of mind anyways. You know, being cautious, don't approach anything too quickly. Kind of take it easy, slow, step by step. You know, because I don't want to get into a situation where um, myself would get harmed, or any of the people I work with would get harmed, or even the clients. I try more or less a safety on everything that I do. Proceeded down in the basement, and it seemed like the energy, the negative energy, intensified, where it was a lot stronger. As I walked through the basement, checking the rooms out down there, um, wasn't picking up on any particular item that was drawing me to it, or kind of getting my attention, but I did have one area down there which was a laundry room that seemed to be the strongest in the energy down there. Um, I kind of, kind of went through everything down there to see what all I could pick up on. At this point, went back upstairs, sat back down with the clients, discussed a little bit more about them, basically how old the house was, what possible information they could give me, down that lines. They were telling me that when they moved in, the house needed some work done on it. The basement wasn't finished off at all. It was basically the stone foundation and a concrete floor, and then of course your rafters and everything else was just open. They finished it off. They did kind of a renovation on the house, fixing it up, and they finished the basement down there because they wanted that more as a living space as well. They put in like a um, almost like a living room down there. It could be used as a spare bedroom, but it had a bathroom down there. It had another room which could have been the bedroom, but it's like they fixed it up, made it like a sewing room. The other part was pretty much the length of the house, which they put a couch and some chairs down there and a TV, almost like a living room. And then over in the one little area, they kind of made it almost like an office area. They had their computers and that type of situation there. They finished all that area off by putting paneling up, windows in it, um, a ceiling, and I believe the floor was carpeted in that area as well. Um, the laundry room, they didn't finish it off. It still had the stone walls and had the central heat and air in there, the hot water tank, that basic kind of stuff that was in there. The washer and dryer had some shelves in there, and then of course underneath the stairway, basically more shelves in there where they stored stuff on that as well. Um, they did tell me that there was one incident they had down in the basement there underneath the stairways when she was doing laundry, that something, an object, I don't recall what she said it was. It was a dish or something like that, came flying out from under the stairway onto the floor and broke. She didn't see it come flying out there, but the item wound up out there on the floor close to her, and she knew it was under that stairway. They also did tell me that the house, that area was a swamp area. It's also an industrial area where they have oil refineries, gas refineries, steel mills, stuff of that nature. So I kind of wondered with a lot of that, the fumes and that were in the air or into the ground, if possibly some of that might be affecting the family. They did say that the swamp area, they brought in dirt and built it up, and then built homes in that area. Now I do know also that this area, back in the early 1600s, 1700s, that a lot of the first settlers that set foot in this country uh, landed on shore that I guess, all our country, it was basically Indian country, all the Indians, this was their land. We just kind of moved in, took over, running them out or uh, basically killing them off, I guess, from battle. I do know that the English, when they settled here, and then the French kind of came in, there was a battle between those. So many people, excuse me, many people died during this battle. The French and the English, as well as the Indians. So there was a lot of death in that area, and that does, get to be pretty active with spirit energy. Uh, they did tell me that, like I said, uh, that home right there, they did have an issue with being in the basement below ground level of a lot of water. It was basically kind of flooding out, I guess. So they had a contractor come in, bust a hole through the concrete floor, and drill down several feet. I believe they told me it was like about 8, 12 foot, maybe even deeper, and put in a sub pump, kind of take care of the water situation to pump it out. That kind of rang a bell to me because if this area was a battlefield, um, it's not like nowadays where if someone dies, they have a designated place that they bury, like a cemetery. Back in the old days, they pretty much just buried them where they were at, or just left them where they were at. Didn't bury them at all. Um, to me, I was kind of thinking that, well, maybe we disturbed someone that was buried a long time ago that's possibly there underneath the house or right there at that area. So that kind of had me wanting to check that out a little bit more detail. As I proceeded back again towards the basement, it made her angry, um, talking once again in the Indian type language. And the more she talked, that language, I was almost picking up on more of Indians that were from the South, Arapaho, Navajo, Cherokee, Apache, something like that. And it just wasn't making sense to me, that language that she was talking, for being in that area, because she's from the north, kind of the northeast, and that language was different up in that area. So it was kind of throwing me off why she would be talking that language if it was Indian related. I would have thought that would be more of the language of the Indians that lived in that area. But I mean, I went back down there, and of course she was, basically arguing with me or telling me that I can't go there, that I need to leave. Um, you know, but I went down. I got a few of my gauges, meters, some of my tech stuff to see what kind of readings I could get in that area. I went into the basement and into the laundry room, where it seemed to be the strongest energy. And of course, when I entered into that room the second time, the energy even increased more. It seemed more threatening to me. Um, like I said, it possibly could have been demonic, or maybe not, just angry. I still couldn't come to conclusion exactly what I was dealing with yet. I used my meters. I did an EMF reading. The only thing was setting off was like the breaker panel box and the washer was kind of setting off, and then of course the central heat and air, that was setting it off. Everything else I wasn't getting any readings from. I used my other instrument, which basically picks up on the ground vibrations, the energy coming from the ground, as well as it does have for the EMF and a few other things that it does do as well. I wasn't getting anything, just basically throughout the room, but when I went over to where the sub pump was, it started setting it off. But as I would go down towards the ground where the hole was, that thing like lit up like a Christmas tree, like there was no tomorrow. I mean, it was giving me 4.7, 4.8 on the rads of energy it was picking up. It was also picking up ground vibrations of about, I believe it was around 48, 49 decimals. But the energy of whatever was in that hole or whatever that spirit was, it was setting that thing off the chart. It was maxed out. It was reading, in the area of about 180 to 225, just fluctuating back and forth in that area, which is a tremendous lot of energy. It usually doesn't go that high unless it's something very, very strong. I was getting kind of a nauseous feeling as well as a little bit dizzy. So I kind of backed away from that area, and of course as I did, I felt a little bit better. These are some of the signs that I pay attention to, that I pick up on, because basically, if it is something that is demonic or trying to attach itself to me, it will basically do the same thing. You will get kind of sick at your stomach, get disoriented, dizzy, kind of like you're lost, that you kind of forget about what you're doing. It's almost like you're just staring off into space, like you're daydreaming, where it's trying to attach itself to you. So, I mean, being that I'm an empath, it helps me with these investigations because I'm able to pick up on a lot of those things when they try to affect me, where I can, stop it or back out away from it before anything seriously does happen. Went back upstairs. After doing the reading on there, I pretty much determined that's where our source is. That's what we're dealing with, whatever is buried there. I started at that point, like I said, I still couldn't, come to terms or believe that it was something demonic. It was more something angry. And I do believe that it was possibly Indian, which was, because of that area and the language she was talking. But it still wasn't adding up on the language that she was talking for Indians in that area. Went back upstairs, got with my other colleague, and we kind of went out, took a little drive down to the store because I wanted to get a few supplies, a little bit of snacks and something to drink, and we talked about what I was picking up on, kind of touching base with each other, seeing if we thought possibly it was down that lines. He still believed that it was something demonic, because he was feeling that some of the items in the home possibly had attachment to them and they were getting rid of them. Whether they were or weren't, I don't know, because I wasn't there. It's very possibly that the items they were getting rid of didn't really need to get rid of them at all, because he doesn't have that ability like I do to be able to pick up on things from either touching them or just being close to them. I think he's just going basically by a gut feeling. The priest, as well as him, they do quite a few cases. Majority of them, they, had no problem. They're able to solve the case. But when you're dealing with spiritual energy, whether it's positive or negative or demonic. Um, a lot of people that do that, even though they were trained in that type of field, I think they're still basically out of their area. They don't have um, enough knowledge. They actually need more knowledge, um, because they can get themselves into situations. Um, we talked about the situation, and I kind of come up with the things I wanted to do to further the investigation. So basically, the rest of that day, I just talked with the clients there. Just, I told them anything that just comes to mind to you, whether it's a dream or an area you go to in the house, you have any type of feelings or anything. Just, tell me, because this is all can be beneficial to what I do. A lot of times it's almost like a game or a puzzle where you get little pieces here and there, and you kind of put them out here in front of you in little groups. And as you go with your investigation, you may see two little items that, all right, these two could connect together. They could be, part of the same group. So, I have to have basically all my information before I can come up with any conclusions or resolve into what I do. Throughout the rest of the day, I was setting up my equipment in some areas. I was putting up static cams, putting out sensors for EMF emissions. So if anything, energy got close to them or crossed that path, it would set them off. Setting up my computer, basically like a central command station where I could monitor, everything from that area. Getting out all my different instruments. I did have two the sensors that were in the room close to me that were going off. I didn't pick up on anything negative from that, more of a positive energy, and it was basically like it was watching just to see what I was doing, what all this equipment was. It was more curious than anything else. It was with me for probably, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. Kept setting off that area, and I did feel that energy right around me. I wasn't able to make a connection with what that spirit was or any type of communication, but I do know that it was there. Now, like I say, after about 30, 40 minutes, it went away. So basically that first night, I just did monitoring, watching all the cameras to see if I was picking up on any sounds or any movement from anything, which was pretty quiet that first night. I was hearing sounds coming from the laundry room, but every time I go in there, it was pretty much quiet. So it's almost like I get in that area, it stops, but when I leave, then it's going to start it again. It's almost calm. It's like playing a game with me. All right, day two. When my colleague got there, we kind of got together and talked about everything I was able to pick up on, what was happening through that first night. As I told him, it was pretty much quiet, not a whole lot was going on. I was hearing some sounds, but I wasn't seeing any movement or anything out of the unusual through the cams. But I told him that I would like to do basically a test or evaluation, I don't know how you want to call it, on the female client, to try to see if I can make a contact or communication with whatever was attached to her or possessing her. He came up with something that wanted to add to that, which was basically doing a detox, but instead of using The regular water, we wanted to use holy water. So if it was something demonic, it would kind of, I don't know, basically agitate her or make her angry. So we set that up, hooked her up to it, and he did a thing that he does using recordings, more or less religious, to see what kind of reaction we could get from her. Um, didn't see anything. It didn't seem like it was bothering her at all. So, that pretty much told me, well, we're not dealing with religious type demonic presence, because it would have agitated her big time, because it does not like anything to do with religion. I had to stick with my first, basically a gut feeling or intuition that we were dealing with something Indian. So he came up with something else. He said, well, what if we play some Indian music, possibly basically some of their chants or their dances in their language, I said, yes, let's do that. That might do something. So he Googled and started bringing up from different tribes, the different basic songs or rituals or chants, and uh, it was having an effect on her, because when they were doing her chants, um, she would start talking in that Indian language again. We did several different tribes from different areas. A lot of them didn't do nothing, but there were a few that did do something. But again, these were tribes from down in the south. It was like that was what she was able to connect with. Everything that was up in the area where she lived, the Indian tribes that were there, did nothing. And I mean, this just did not make sense to me. Why that would affect her up here when we're not even in that area. We did pinpoint that where I was getting the most reaction was from Navajo or Arapaho. And I mean, that was kind of what I was feeling that she was talking was, one of those languages, or possibly Cheyenne or Cherokee or Apache or something, in that area. But these two came up where we were getting the most reaction out of her. There was one thing he did. Supposedly it was of a demonic Indian, which I didn't even know there was such an existence of a demonic. I thought demonic was demonic. I didn't know the Indians had their own little demonic demons as well. But he had one that in Indian language, that language down there was a name of a demonic spirit or entity that would say the name as the music was playing. And she gave him basically a stare, like if she could have killed, she would have. And as it would say the name in being translated, she'd come back and say it, but a little differently, but it was with anger. To me, I was picking up on that she was basically correcting him, correcting how it was being pronounced. So, kind of at that point, I thought, well, maybe we are dealing with something demonic, in the Indian line. Just because the anger of her trying to correct it, when that came up. We started the procession. We kind of got together to discuss on what steps we need to go to from there. I still firm believer that what we were dealing with was Indian, which he kind of agreed, but he still was on the path that it was something demonic. Possibly so. At this point, I'm not real sure. We kind of took a break. I went outside into the backyard, kind of get some air, smoke a cigarette, um, and I had two voices come into my head again. One said look, and the other one said see. Um, I'm standing there and I'm looking over through the yard, looking around. Basically, what am I looking at? What am I supposed to see? Um, and then I heard another voice that said up. So I thought, oh, well, all right, something up. So I went out in the yard and kind of turned around to look at the house, and I looked up. There's a window up there that is in the attic. It's only on the back side of the house. I didn't know there was any windows up there. So at that point, I determined, well, evidently there's something up in the attic that's calling me. I need to go check that area out. I went in, told my colleague what just happened, and he said he's never been up there, but he's had a feeling that it needed to be checked out. Um, the clients, they were talking about some of the items up there was basically their sons, which has been affected because of this ordeal. Both of their sons have been affected. They don't live at the home. Um, this has affected them basically to their health. Her mainly, where she hadn't been able to get out, hadn't been able to do much, in bed most of the time. Doctors that they've gone to for different reasons. The doctors are unable to come up with what's wrong with them. Um, she's even gone to like psychiatrists, and they're just telling her that it's stress related or depression. They've got her on a lot of medication to keep her basically almost drugged up or sedated. Um, he's having problems with a lot of aches and pains, kind of not normally he would have, but he's been to doctors and they can't come up with any logical answers for him as well. So, I mean, the demonic presence will do this to a human. They will make you sick, make you hurt, make you confused, kind of control you, make you do things you don't normally do. Um, so I talked with them, about this attic. They told me most of the stuff up there was their size. They had a few things up in there. Brad said that they told him that there was a wedding dress up there. And I said, well, that possibly could have something attached to it. So I scheduled to where the next day I was going to, go up there and see what I could find out up there. We did some more tests, did a lot more interviewing, trying to find out a little bit more information on something they may have forgot to tell us, or just kind of hitting different areas to see if she would come back with any type of response to it. Like I say, it's kind of like a game. It's like a puzzle where you're trying to gather bits and pieces to kind of put them together to find out what we're dealing with, because we don't know exactly. We do know it's Indian, but how it's controlling her, the reason why, what it's wanting, we just don't have enough information at this point to be able to come up with that type of conclusion or answers. Pretty much I did the same thing that second night by monitoring everything, paying attention to her, what she does, her looks, her expressions, how she talks. It's almost like she was grunting every time she was breathing. Couldn't make up my mind whether it was just like a groan or a moan, or I really don't know how to explain that, but it was a sound that she was making. along with her chants here and there, talking the language. But that second night, monitoring everything, pretty much like the first night. Wasn't picking up anything off the cameras, but I was still hearing noises. Every time, while they were awake, every time I would go into a certain area, she would holler down at me, something's happening. So every time I go in the laundry room, it was like it was affecting her because she was feeling it. When I went to certain areas in the house, the same thing. Or when I went close to a certain item, the same thing. They did tell me other things that have happened in the home. One of them was she had a necklace, I believe it was a rosemary, because they are Catholic, that was hanging up on the bedpost that broke one night and went kind of everywhere. She also had a cross on the wall that started to discolor, turn more or less black. Don't know if that's because of the metal, the reason for that, or whether something was causing that. They did say there was a picture, I believe, maybe not a picture, but it was a phrase or a saying, something religious that was in the hallway that fell off the wall or got knocked off the wall and broke. And he said possibly that when he was doing something, he may have bumped up against it, but he wasn't sure. So we kind of just, yeah, all right, we'll throw that out. Possibly may have accidentally got broke or knocked off the wall. She did say that she kept hearing a lot of noises in her room, kind of knocking sounds or popping sounds. She was having bad dreams, nightmares. She told me about one of her dreams where she was in water. There was a boy there, and it wasn't deep water. It was just like they were kind of wading in it. Well, that kind of thought to me, well, you know, this is a swamp area. Maybe it's talking about that area. The boy, she thought it was her son. Of course, it didn't, you know, she didn't have no distinct recognition of it. She said she would look into water, and she wasn't getting a reflection of herself. It's like she was in the water, but yet she's not there. There was a ball being tossed around where the boy, I guess, had thrown the ball to her. She caught it, and when she caught the ball, it was like something being written on it. It said, "Curse of all curses." I kind of thought about that a little bit, and I thought, well, if we're dealing with an Indian presence, it's very well that could be what it's talking about, because they are very spiritual in the world, very spiritual with animals, and you know, I've been told by different tribe people that, you know, basically when they bury their dead, their ritual is basically a protection or whatever of that burial site. That if anyone or anything disturbs it, basically they're cursed. You know, something's going to happen to them. So I kind of took that as a sign that that's what that was talking about, because we possibly disturbed a burial ground of an Indian, and that's why these things are happening to the family. Well, I mean, things kind of progressed, got a little bit more interesting. You know, kind of out of sorts, because a lot of the stuff that was coming out didn't make sense. Some of it did. I'm trying to put all these pieces together, try to figure out, what is going on here. The next day, my colleague wasn't there. He had something else he had to take care of, so he was going to be gone for a day, and then he'd be back. I proceeded on with what's going on, because basically that's why they called me up here. They had no idea what they were doing or what they were dealing with. So the next day, I let them know that I was fixing to go up into the attic. And of course, when I mentioned that, she became angry again. Like, she didn't want me up there. Like something was telling me I can't go up there. So I went over, and of course, as I walked that area, she started doing her chanting again. And when I pulled down the stairway, it was almost like, I don't want to say she became violent, because it wasn't like she was coming over there hitting on me or anything like that, but it was more of a violent state, the way she was acting, verbally, I guess would be a better way to put it. Basically cussing me out, and didn't want me to go to that area. Excuse me. As I proceeded up the stairway, as soon as I crossed like the level of the upper floor going into the attic, an energy hit me. Another, I don't want to say it was negative or positive. Wasn't sure, but I did know that I was dealing with something different, something else there. I had one type of energy down in the basement. I'm having something totally different up in the attic. As I went up in there, they were telling me that the window that was up there, they believed that it was put in backwards, to where the lock for the window is on the outside of the house, which I thought, well, that's kind of strange. But when I went over to the window, no, it was in the right way, so there wasn't a problem there. I was picking up on sadness of this energy up there. And I was also picking up on that it was that of a child, someone young. Don't know how young, but it was a child. Whether it was a boy or girl, wasn't able to pick up on anything there at that point. As I walked around through the attic, checking out different things, seeing if I could see anything that might draw my attention to it, or I pick up any type of feelings towards. I didn't, except for a white box, kind of long, that sat over kind of in the back, away from everything, off to the side. As I was approaching that area, she was hollering from downstairs that she's starting to feel something. Something doesn't like me over in that area. So I got to thinking, well, possibly that box, maybe something's attached to it. I got over there to the box, touched it, wasn't really picking up on any thing from that. I opened up the box. It was a wedding dress. Now, I didn't know even where that wedding dress was up there, but there was something about that box that was calling me to it. And that wedding dress had been mentioned either the day before or the first day I was there, about something up in the attic, that there was a wedding dress. Wasn't told where it was at, what it was in, nothing. Didn't have any information on that. But something drew me to that box. When I opened it, saw it was a wedding dress. Like I say, I didn't pick up on anything from it, but there was still an energy right there that was like further back from that box, kind of in a dormer area where it's kind of around a corner. There's like some energy back there was drawing me back that way. So I closed the box and kind of leaned over it, looked back in that dormer, because you couldn't get back in there. It didn't have no floorboards, it was just all rafters and insulation. So I got to looking back there. Of course, I didn't see anything, but I was picking up on an energy. I thought, well, it's possible that whatever this spirit is that's up here, that's where it's hiding, back in that corner around the back where it feels safe. I still was picking up that there was a child spirit. Um, Went back downstairs, and as I closed the stairway up going to the attic, she was sitting over there in the chair, and she started saying "Baby Bobby" repeatedly over and over. Um, it was like it was a name, you know. And she said she felt sad, like she wanted to cry, and it had to do with Baby Bobby. And I thought, well, if this is Indian, why would they name their child Bobby? Because that's just not the way they name their their people. You know, it's more animals or something to do with nature, spiritual. You know, something like that. So Bobby just wasn't playing into effect. I don't know where that was coming from. It wasn't making any sense. But then there's a lot of other stuff that didn't make sense either. But once again, I kind of take those little clues or what I hear and kind of put them out here on the table, where I'll have everything into play, and then I can pick and choose different things to kind of put together to see if it makes sense. Um, she did act a little bit different on that third day as well. I mean, she still had the angry look, but it was more that she was talking normally on conversation, talking about different things. As the first 2 days, it was like it was totally controlling her 100%. So I believe since I've been there, I already knew where the one energy was. Now I know where the second energy was. If one of those two was controlling her, I'm getting closer to that energy. So it's distracting it, taking its focus away from her. It's still using her to communicate or basically give me clues, but it's not totally controlling her anymore at that point. So I felt, well, I'm getting closer. You know, it's going to make a mistake because every time it's having to do something, it is losing energy. And as it loses energy, you know, it makes it easier for me to pinpoint where it's at, pick up more information about what it is. When they're strong, it's kind of like they put a barrier or a shield around them, which blocks me out. I mean, I know that the energy's there, but I can't break through it to find out what it is, why it's there, where exactly it's at. But as it weakens, that's like that barrier crumbles, falls, dissipates, whatever it does, and I'm able to even get closer. And each time I do, it to me it seems like what I do, it knows it. It's afraid of me because it knows I will find it. Maybe not right away, but it will make a mistake, and I will find it to locate it and deal with it. So it's basically took a focus off of her, and it's trying to, I don't know, stay one step ahead of me, basically hiding or moving away from me every time I come close to it. It doesn't want me to find it. They do play games with me where I do believe they're able to control other spirits, you know, have them do things to kind of, I don't know, throw me off course, take me in a different direction, lead me to something else, you know, get it away from them. But a lot of times I go there, as I do, things are just not adding up. It's not making any sense. And I have to stop. I say, well, I'm on a wild goose chase. This has nothing to do with what's going on. And kind of refocus and go a different direction. So each time it's doing this, it's, like I say, it's losing energy. The more energy it loses, the weaker it gets, the easier it is to find out what it is, as well as get rid of it. It can't put up much of a fight. So I mean, pretty much that day was like the past 2 days, just talking, getting more information, going to different areas, seeing what else I could pick up on. I did go back outside the house, down to the sidewalk, and when I came back up this time, as I said in the beginning, when I first got there, it almost felt like there was a energy wall there, a shield protecting the house. That was gone. It wasn't there no more. So whatever I was doing inside, um, interacting, I don't know if you want to call it interacting with the presence that was in the home, I weakened it. Um, I made it nervous. So that part that had, I guess, that shield or that energy around the outside, no, it didn't have it anymore. It lost it, or either that or it just wasn't keeping it going because it was more scared for protecting itself at that point. Um, that night, um, basically doing the same thing, monitoring my equipment. Every time I hear a noise, I go into that area, check it out. But this time, on the third night, I wasn't hearing as much noise, not coming from the laundry room, still picking up on a lot of energy there. I was trying to put the two spirits together, the one that was in the basement and the child that was in the attic, if they possibly have anything to do with each other. If it's something that they're having a battle over. It's like two spirits fighting each other. It's just the humans were caught in the middle. I thought of different scenarios on that and still couldn't come up with anything conclusive or anything that made logical sense to me. I did determine that the child that was up in the attic, possibly that may be an Indian spirit as well. And it could be that the one down in the basement, the stronger one, was using her to, I don't know, basically let us know that this child needs help. Because I was, like I say, I was feeling that it was hurt, sad, lost. Um, maybe the other one was trying to let us know something so we could help it. The fourth day, when my colleague got back, we discussed on the new developments. I said, well, we got a new twist to the table now. We got a second energy in the home. And we discussed about that, and he thought that was kind of different or unique. Never come across anything like that. I don't think he's ever even come across with anything pertaining to an Indian case before, because they were thinking the language was just a foreign language. He wasn't picking up on the Indian at all. So we talked about the new development, and at that point I said, do you know if there was any Indian artifacts in the home, that possibly some of the ones that you got rid of? He said not that he knows. It was more like religious type things, or certain different items that he felt that had something demonic or something attached to, but he didn't recall of anything that was like an Indian artifact. We went back upstairs where the clients were sitting. I asked her if she had anything in her home that was Indian, something that was made by Indians or something they bought that was an Indian type artifact. And she said that she did have some jewelry. It was Indian jewelry, but she said she got rid of it a long time ago. I said, no, it has to be something here in the home. Couldn't think of anything. She wasn't coming up with anything. And then her husband had said that his dad, when they first moved in, he had been in Arizona or New Mexico and had found a piece of wood that was petrified. Basically, it was a rock now, but it was still looked like uh, like a piece of wood. And that kind of lit a light bulb in my head. Arizona or New Mexico. That would be the area of where this language was coming from. It kind of rang a bell to me that we need to see this item because it's starting to make some sense now. He told me that it was outside in their landscaping area where their shrubs were. They had other rocks out there, but this is where they put that one piece of petrified wood or rock, however you want to call it. I call it a rock because it's hard like a rock, but yeah, it's a piece of wood. Um, so my colleague and I went out there. Um, he touched it. I went over and just kind of stood around it to see if I could pick up any feelings or vibes or anything coming from it. I was picking up energy, but he touched it. He bent over and touched it. When he stood back up, it was like almost like you bend over, you come up too fast, you get kind of a little dizzy, off like that. He said, "Well, yeah, I think I stood up too fast, you know." But he went to his car. I went back into the house, get some more information, see what more I could find out about the rock. Colleague came in. He had his oxygen tank with him because he was getting over the COVID. He was tested positive. I guess from what he tells me, he came real close to dying from it. So he's having to use oxygen, try to retrain his lungs on how to breathe. He struggles with breathing. He got on the oxygen, and I could just see it in his face expressions, like he was kind of dazed or kind of confused, whatever. And I said, I don't think it was from standing up too fast. I think it was from touching that rock. The energy that was in the rock, hit you somehow, made this effect happen. And he kind of agreed with me because he said usually he stands up like that. He dizzy for a little bit and then he's fine. But this time he was having a hard time breathing as well. So I went back out. I thought, well, I need to check out this rock or petrified wood a little bit further. I went out and I picked this item up off the ground, and when I did, it was just like somebody turned out the lights, almost as if I just went blind. I couldn't see nothing but darkness. Within a second or two, it was like a color red. It started coming in. It was just getting brighter and brighter and brighter. It was like a dimmer switch where you turn the lights on. You slowly turn it to where it gets light. I see this red, but the red color was getting darker. In other words, it was kind of almost like a fire engine red, and then it started getting darker. But during that time, while all this was happening, I was kind of getting like I was dizzy, sick to my stomach, and then I heard a voice come to my head, which I believe was my spirit guide, told me to drop. So I let go of the rock, and of course when I let go of it, all that red color, it just disappeared, and it was just like I was normal. But I wasn't. At that time, I felt kind of disoriented, kind of off balance. My thoughts were kind of all joggled, and it felt like I was having the life sucked out of me. It was almost like half my energy had just been drained in just that short period of time. Whatever was attached to that rock was very strong. It was using my energy as it tried to use my colleagues. I went inside the house. Of course, I had to kind of get my balance and my senses back, and went inside the house. And the colleague looked at me and he said, well, he asked me if I was all right. He said, "You just don't look very good. Looks like you just been jolted." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "That rock has got to go." I said, "There's something about it. It's not good." It needs to be out of here. Um, so I do believe at this point that that rock, whatever the energy, the child or whatever up in the attic, was attached to that. I also believe that where it came from may have not been like how we bury our dead. We put a headstone or even a rock for a grave marker. Indians, they don't do that. Um, uh, I just think that a piece of wood just happened to be there where that child was buried or died, that petrified over the years, and it just basically was part of that grave. And when somebody came or his dad came and found it and took it, it was like it was taking away a piece of that grave, because you don't go to a haunted place or graveyards or any place like that where the dead are or something that is going on and take something from that home, because it does. I don't know if it sets off a chain reaction or throws things out of balance, but it does. Basically, it's like disturbing the dead or disturbing the grave. So I believe that's what has happened. The child was attached to that. It was disturbed and brought from its area up to here. As I thought more down that line, I went back to where she was saying baby Bobby, and I reinterpreted that to where possibly it could have been saying baby's body, like it was looking for its body. Couldn't find it. It was lost. It was wandering. It wanted to be with its where it was supposed to be. It was taking away from it. Um, that made more sense um, as puzzles went together. And I feel that the energy that was in the basement that was using her to give us these um, little clues was angry because this child was brought away from its grave uprising. Um, so I decided, well, it's got to go. My colleague said he knows of um, I guess he was a medicine man for an Indian tribe in the area that deals with a lot of stuff like this, that he wanted to take it to him to try to do a peace offering as well as a, I guess, a spiritual, oh, I don't know, almost like another funeral to release it from this rock, be able to send it back to where originally it came from, to free it, put it at rest. Um, so I agree with him on that. It would be a good idea. Because more likely we don't know exactly where the rock comes from. We can't take it back. We know it's either in Arizona or New Mexico. But if we can do something down that line where we can separate the two of them and able the spirit to go back to his body or wherever it was buried, and do a peace offering that, basically we're sorry this happened, wasn't done intentionally. So that's what we did. I asked the clients of the home if they had like a blanket or a bag or something that I could wrap this item up in. They had an old blanket they gave me, and then a paper bag, which was pretty good size. And I was talking with my colleague a little bit more, and we went outside. Well, luckily I went outside the right time, because I noticed the client, he was down there fixing to pick up this rock and put it in the bag. And real quickly I said, no, don't touch that. Let me do this. Because whatever's attached to that rock, it could affect you seriously. He said, well, I never thought of that. And I said, yeah. So once again, at this point, I had one of my crystals that I use, which draws out negative energy out of me. It helps. I do believe in them. Like most of the chakra crystals, I do believe that they do work. I've used them many times on different things, and yeah, to me, they work. But I used this one because I was trying to get my energy, all this negative that hit me, trying to draw my energy out of me, get my senses back. I used this one crystal for that purpose. So I'm holding that crystal so nothing else um, draws energy out of me while I'm bagging up this rocks to get it out of here. I loaded it in the back of his vehicle because he's going to take it to this medicine man to have that procedure done. He did call me. Well, after he left, I did go back in the house, and when I did, it was like the atmosphere totally changed in there. It's like a lot of that energy, it just died. It just went away. I still felt that there was energy there, but nothing like it was. I did also notice from looking at her, it was like the color has come back into her face. She's lost that angry look where she was mad. It was almost like her life was coming back to her. Started talking about it a little bit and telling her how, she helped solve this case. Well, she didn't know what I was talking about. I said, well, yeah, you talking in an Indian language and saying all these different things. She could not remember that. She had no recollection that she was even doing that. So yeah, it was possessing her. It was using her to communicate with us. But now that it was gone, it's released from her, and she's pretty much back to herself. I did go back down in the basement to do another meter reading in around the sub pump area. This time when I went in there, everything was pretty much normal where it should have been to begin with. I wasn't picking up on that energy in there anymore. All my readings had dropped down to the low range, about where they would be normally for the areas. So I believe whatever we did was what it was wanting. So now it is somewhat at peace, and it's going away. I mean, it's still there. It's not going away, but it's not there fighting, trying to get this problem taken care of. So it kind of went at peace at that point. I went back upstairs, talked with them more. I was basically talking with her because I was wanting to see, the difference in her, so I could make sure whatever was attached to her has unattached itself. And she was pretty much had control, even though she hadn't had control of herself for a very long time. That process was the beginning of something new that she was going to have to start doing. Basically, get her mobility. Can't even say that word. Mobility. Wow. Let me try a different word. Being able to get around, do things again. That's a word that just tongue-tied me. Because she was weak from being in bed, not doing anything. So now she's going to have to kind of build her muscles back up. Wanted to see if, there was anything else that was possibly there that might be, bothering her, setting her off. She was still kind of stuck on that one cross that was turning black. As I went, towards her room, she once again said, well, I'm feeling something. Something's happening. But when I grabbed hold of the cross, I got nothing from it. So at this point, I decided, well, whatever we were dealing with is gone now. It's out of the home. It's off the property. So there's nothing here. So I'm basically thinking, well, now what we got is psychological because of so much trauma that she's put up with over a long period of time. So now using a different method, um, psychological aspect, trying to help her reprogram her mind to forget about everything that's happened. Kind of block that out, put that in the past. It's gone. It's not going to harm you anymore. Let's work on the positive side. You know, getting yourself back to health, being able to get out and do things. Think of positive stuff. And she talked about, well, I haven't seen my grandson since he was born. I would like to see him, because she didn't want nothing to do with him. She wouldn't even allow him in the house. She said, I would like to see him again. I said, all right, there's a positive note. Think about that. Something you want to do that's going to keep you going forward. She said, well, I'm a mess. I need to get my hair done. I said, well, good, there's another one. Make a phone call, set up a hair appointment. So I said, these are the things you got to do to stay positive. Look on the path ahead, not what's behind you, what's happened. Get rid of that. Eventually that will go away. But it's happened so much, it's still in your mind. But you got to learn, every time something you want to start talking about that past, you got to block it out. You got to stop. Don't go back there. Go forward. Things you want to do. Think of positive things. Things, you know, being able to get outside in the fresh air. Go somewhere, you know. Keep these things in mind. Also, keep in mind, you're the one in control here. This is your home. Whatever is here or coming here, or, you know, you're the boss. You tell it to leave. It cannot stay here. This is your home. Every time you feel like you're hearing a voice or a dream or something, you know, tell it, no, I'm not listening to you. Block it out. Make it go away, because it cannot harm you. So I was training her mind to kind of go that path. As we were talking, my colleague, he calls me and he said, where am I supposed to be going? It's like he's still disoriented. He's not sure what he's doing. Or it's because he's got that rock that's with him. It's still affecting him. I told him, well, you're taking that rock to the medicine man. They all said, okay. Then he called me back about 10 minutes, 15 minutes after that. He says, I have no idea where I'm at. I'm lost. I said, wow. I said, you're not touching that rock. He said, no, I haven't touched it since that first time. I said, well, don't touch it, but you need to get rid of it just as quick as possible. He said, well, I don't know where I'm at. He said, it's like it's familiar, but it's not. He said, I've gone to this place many a time, so I know where it's at, but it's like, I don't know where I'm at. But just a few seconds after that, he said, all right, I found the road I'm familiar with. So, yeah. He got the rocks where it needed to go. That situation was taken care of. He contacts me later on that night to let me know that it was done. Asked me how things were going there at the house. I said, oh, it's a big difference. You know, it's almost back to normal now. I'm just having to do the final finish up here ever since that was taken away from me. He said that the medicine man, he did pick up on the energy from that, and he says, basically confirms what I was picking up on, that yes, it was a child, an Indian child, and it was Navajo. So I said, well, that makes sense. It all, you know, comes together now. Because in the beginning it didn't. I couldn't figure out, like I said, why that language was coming in up there. So that kind of solved that problem. We knew what the situation was, and we got it handled. The other spirit calmed down to where there was nothing happening there. I told the clients I still would like to cleanse the home, as well as set up a peace offering, or a kind of an altar for an Indian peace offering, which I did. And it seems like when I did that, all energy in that home was gone. It was almost like it was just so peaceful, happiness. Um, but I still told them that, even though we got rid of what's here, I would still like to do a house cleansing, protection, and a shield around the home to keep any other spirits or negative energy out of the home where this doesn't happen again. They agreed. Um, so I did that, and I still spent another day and a night at the home because I wanted to make sure everything was still good. I wanted to make sure she wasn't having any more problems or issues. The next day when she got up, she was all happy and cheerful and laughing and starting to make jokes, but she was still weak because she hadn't been able to move around. So I set her up on kind of a rehabilitation, um, uh, I guess, exercise to do. I said, you got this walker chair, but it's also got these exercise, kind of like bungee straps or whatever, where you kind of exercise like what you would at a gym. I said, you need to start walking in the house. I'm not saying get up there and do a marathon, but do little bits. Do it slowly. Do a little bit. Go sit down for a while. Get your energy. Kind of regroup again. Get up and go do it again. Do it as many times as you can. Do a little bit longer each time. Just slowly build your muscles back up. So she had a game plan on that, and so that's going to help her there. The mind reset, that's helping her. Being able to deal with blocking out the past, not going back there or thinking about it, but thinking about the future, more positive things. Um, she did get her appetite back because I guess she hadn't been eating, and the medication that was keeping her pretty much drugged. I told her that we need to see if we can possibly start doing away with that because you don't have that issue anymore, and this is probably not needed for that. There's the other stuff that you take. Yes, you need to continue because that was doctor prescribed for your conditions. So that they would confirm that part. But these others, what they were giving you, because they had no idea what was going on, I think we can do away with that because they were basically depressant pills and tranquilizers to keep her somewhat sedated or being able to sleep. The first night, well, let me back up here. While this is going on, during the day around 1 o'clock, she was so, I don't know if you want to call it scared, but all this was bothering her. It's like it was affecting her to where she had to take the medication to help her cope with it. And she's supposed to be taking it at night time before she goes to bed. Well, she was taking it during the afternoon and then sleep all afternoon and be awake during the night. So she wasn't on the scheduled routine that she should have been. So we're trying to change that, getting her to stay up later, stay up during the day, not go to bed. I told her that night, we got her to stay up like 7 o'clock, which was a big accomplishment, but she still felt that she had to have the medication. So I said, well, take one of them, but see if you can go lay down and go to sleep without taking the sedative that will help you sleep. I said, if it does, you go lay down and it doesn't work, it's right there. You go ahead and take it. So she went in and lay down, and of course she felt like she had to have it to go to sleep. All right, that's fine. At least we got you to stay up longer. The next day, I had her do the same thing. I said, try not to do any of your medication until nighttime. Was able to get her to stay up until it was almost 9 o'clock the second night. So we're progressing. The husband says this is amazing. He's been trying to do everything over a long time, trying to get this situation helped or whatever. It just took me to come up there to figure out what we're dealing with, get rid of it, and now helping her get her self back in order Um, but when she went to bed that second night, um, she took the one medication, but she didn't take the other one. So we've eliminated one of those now. Um, since I've been there, I still in contact with them, just to kind of touch base, check up on them, see if everything's going good. Um, she's now getting out of the house. They've been out and gone to eat. She's seen her grandson. Um, she's also starting to do things around the house, where she's washing dishes or doing laundry. So she is getting herself back where she needs to be, in that happy state. So, yeah, it's a good thing. I like it when I'm able to help a family and get their lives back for them where they can live normally and at peace and happy without any fear, in their home of dealing with anything. So, I mean, this is a case that's kind of unique, unusual. My colleague and the priest never dealt with anything like this. No wonder they were lost. Um, I guess that's one reason because of what I'm able to do as to why when they come to the roadblock, not sure, they call me saying if I'm available to come in and help them out. So that's pretty much a happy ending, the way I kind of look at it. Helping families out. That's what I do. That's what I've done for a long time. And with the Lord's help, giving me this ability and guiding me, I hope to be doing it a long time from now. I hope you enjoy this video. If you do have any questions, or possibly you may have something or know somebody that's having a problem and needing help, let me know. If you have any questions about it, or trying to find out maybe a little more information or advice or something down that lines, leave me a comment. I do view over them. May not get to view over it that day when you send it out, but I do go over all my comments, and I do get back to answering them just as quick as I can. So don't think that I'm neglecting you or I didn't get your message, because I will get it and I will get back with you. But I hope you enjoy this video. This is the first one I'm doing down this line where I'm talking about the cases. Unfortunately, I can't show any of the video footage because of the confidential aspect between the client and myself. They do not want this to be shown or televised, or however you want to put it. They do give me the permission to be able to talk about the case, as long as I don't use names, addresses, or anything down that line. They want to keep it kind of confidential, which I respect that. But they do allow me to talk about the case. I try to give it in detail with as much that I can on what happened, what we did, or what we were picking up on. It's almost like reading a book. You're not actually there. Possibly you're not even seeing any pictures, but you're still getting the story as to where you can understand what is going on. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and I will be doing more. Possibly. We'll see how this one does, how many views it gets. I'm hoping a lot of people will watch these. I do feel that, I can't say they're entertaining, but I do feel that they're kind of educational as well as informational, to people. Kind of let you know about what we're dealing with in our world out there that a lot of people don't understand, or they don't believe. But tell you honestly, yes, it is true. These things are happening in our world. And thank God that there's people like me that are able to do something about it. So enjoy the video. Hope to see you on the next one.